Recorded live from the Washington, D.C. metro area. You're listening to Seasoned for Success, hosted by Rob Ross.
If you ain't first, you're last.
Learn from a melting pot of industry leaders and find the right ingredients for success.
This is Seasoned for Success, my podcast that I started many years ago, and now we're just on to episode 4. So I'm killing it right now. I'm on one episode a year, so I'm doing a good job right now. And but we're about to kick it up a notch, and I've got some guests lined up. But I wanted to start with a good friend of mine, Jay Ferguson, who I've known for 2015, 2016 now, so going on 8-9 years, and business partner, more importantly, a friend and someone that I relate to. And before I hit the record button a few seconds ago, Jay and I just talked for almost 30 minutes about everything from
catching up.
From the hurricane coming to colonoscopies to
hot tub sales, Deep Creek real estate a little bit, but we saved the good stuff for this podcast. But this is going to be fun. Excited to catch up with Jay. We're gonna make this beneficial to those listening. Talking about real estate trends, second home market. Specifically, we're going to talk a lot about the Deep Creek Lake market. A lot of the folks that are going to listen to this are going to be some of my Loudoun County folks who live down here in the DC area where I'm at. And a lot of them want to buy second homes, and a lot of them want to drive 2.5 hours to do it. That puts you smack dab in the middle of Garrett County, and a great place to buy and a great place to live. I can tell you that firsthand because I've been there since 2016 myself, and absolutely love it and can't wait to get back. Every time I leave, I'm ready to come back. So, but Jay lives there full time. So yes, born and raised.
Yes, exactly. So without further ado, we have Jay Ferguson here, and I'm going to start. Jay, let's make this simple. Tell me a little bit about you to get started. Just so I know about you, but I want to hear more. I learn something every time. So
I think I learned something every time too.
That's it.
Now, I'm born and raised in Garrett County. Lived here my whole life, and got into real estate. Garrett County is one of those small places, small town population, roughly 30,000 people, give or take. And, going through high school, everybody talks about, okay, we're going to leave to go to college. We got to leave to go find a job. Garrett County is not blessed with, a lot of industry or a lot of commercial activity, but what it is blessed with is real estate. So I spent my entire middle school, high school career hearing, about where all my friends are going and, the fields that they're going to get into. And I didn't want to leave. I love it here. I've loved it here. I moved away for a week to Fort Collins, Colorado, realized very quickly I made a mistake, packed all my stuff, moved right back across country. And 2 months later, I ended up getting into real estate. And real estate is one of those things that, like I said, Garrett County is blessed with a lot of real estate. A third of the county is state park, green space. You've got Swallow Falls, the biggest waterfall in Maryland. You've got class 4 and 5 whitewater rapids with the Youghiogheny River. You've got Deep Creek Lake. It's one of the largest lakes in the East, coupled with skiing, snowboarding with Wisp Resort. That's, basically 3,000 feet in elevation here. Recreational hunting, a little bit of everything. So if you like the outdoors, if you like hiking, if you like living in the mountains, the foothills of Appalachia, you would love Deep Creek in Garrett County. And so again, I left, came back very quickly, and real estate has been good to me. I've been in the business for 24 years.
Same. I just crossed 24 in October, and we're 2 months apart in age. So
yeah, absolutely, brothers from another mother. We ended up our paths almost crossed at WVU.
Yeah, they did.
Did we figure out that we were there at the same time?
Yeah, we were. We
just didn't meet. I was only there for a semester. It was 97 when it was the number one something school in America.
Oh, I was there. I was there in 97.
I don't remember what it was, but we had a really good football team. But
Rhymes with party.
Yeah, WVU was it's only 45 minutes from Deep Creek.
Mhm.
So for me,
I tell people 30 because I drive fast, but that's
you
fine.
do, yeah. You okay? So driving with intent, you can get there very very quickly.
That's it.
But yeah, so that's it's a little bit about me.
And
Got into real estate.
tell them who you work for. Tell them who you work for.
TaylorMade. I started the real estate branch of TaylorMade a little over 10 years ago.
Yep.
One of the best blessings of my life is the opportunity. Lifelong friends, Chad, Jody, and Joe. Chad Taylor, Jody. It was Jody Taylor. It's Jody and Joe Rafosco. They're my partners on the real estate side. They had started. They had an incredible rental company, TaylorMade Deep Creek Vacations. And we had always talked and joked about, we were all in a fantasy football group together that's still going strong. But we always said, hey, one day, wouldn't it be cool if we all got to work together? And how would that look? What would it look like? And, about 10 and a half years, almost 11 years ago, Chad called and said, hey, you know what we talked about all those years ago? Are you ready? And I was 35 at the time. And you only see so many of those pitches in your life, a fastball down the middle. Decided to swing for the fences, and we hit a home run. We hit a grand slam with TaylorMade, and we've met really good partners along the way. Obviously, we'll dip into that. Our favorite lending partners at the Ross Group. So it's been spectacular.
No, it's awesome, and I love that background in fantasy. So, how many years into the fantasy football?
We are on year 15. We started in 2008.
Okay.
And it's a keeper league. So that was something a little bit new. I started this, and we have a traveling trophy. We've got guys living in Chicago now, living in Florida, living in the Carolinas. But we everybody, tries to come together Labor Day weekend every year for the draft. And so it's a good time.
I'm in one too. So with my, are you allowed to say your team name on here? Is it child appropriate?
No, it's definitely appropriate. Geographically, growing up, we had Pittsburgh channels and we had DC channels. So my team name is the Steelskins. No. So I'm a Steeler fan because Pittsburgh's 90 miles away. It's 2 hours to go and watch a game in Pittsburgh. Yeah. To me, it's not the Commanders, it's the Redskins. So I'm a Redskin fan. I would watch the Steelers games at 1, Redskin games at 4. So it only seemed right that my team is the Steelskins.
Yeah, well, that makes sense to me, and obviously being your friend, I know you're a fan of both, because when I bought my house in Deep Creek, one of the favorite things that both of us did was throw those Baltimore Ravens glasses right out the window. So.
Well, tell the story a little bit deeper. The house that Rob picked had an entire bar built into it, but it was a Raven bar. So they had pictures of the stadium, they had pictures of Ray Lewis, they had pictures of Ed Reed, they had Raven glasses and cups. They might have even had a neon sign or something. It was disgusting.
It got a makeover. So it's all steel curtain right now.
It's steel curtain, and you named the house what?
The Mountain Lair after West Virginia University.
WVU, so we're crossing a lot of different areas.
Representing there. Well, you're Commanders, because while Jay's in Deep Creek, I'm down here in the DC metro area is my primary, and the Commanders, Redskins, whatever, everyone calls it something different. They're cooking.
True fans know what they're called.
Yeah, they're
called Washington's team, but I know what they.
Team Washington. Yeah, they're cooking with fire right now. Jaden Daniels is the.
Big game this week against the Ravens. I hope that he's got enough meat on his bones to protect himself from that mighty defense. We respect the Ravens. They're a good football team. But
we do respect them.
Hoping we can pull one out, keep the win streak going.
Well, let's talk a good segue on this. Let's talk about, so Garrett County, square footage wise, is a pretty big county. Garrett County has, like I said, because of Deep Creek Lake, which I believe is 80-ish miles of shoreline from what I recall.
Like mid 70s, like 72, 74, somewhere in that range.
There you go. And it's the largest freshwater lake in the state of Maryland for sure. So I know that, right?
3,900 acres.
There you go.
And it's something like 36 trillion cubic gallons of water, which I heard after Hurricane Helene went through, I heard it dumped 42 trillion gallons. So it basically, the amount of water that's in Deep Creek Lake, more than that got dumped as Helene deposited water in the United States.
Well, Deep Creek needed some rain. It was pretty low this summer. So
Yeah, it was a drought for sure.
So a big part of Deep Creek Lake in general and Wisp Ski Resort, which again, we got some Colorado snobs out there. It's fine. It's fine. I get it. It's not skiing unless it's Colorado. I get it. But if you're on the East Coast, Wisp is awesome, right?
Yeah.
You're still a hop, skip, and a jump down to Timberline and Canaan. If you want to hit up some other, you're not too far from Seven Springs. So if you come to that general area, you can hit up a couple different ski resorts. Wisp
have a good weekend where it's, Wisp one day, Seven Springs one day, and then Canaan Valley, the next. So
you can do it. So by saying that, a lot of folks do want to buy either a second home or investment property in Deep Creek.
Sure.
And what I'd like to talk about now is kind of second home, not financing. I help with the financing side from my day job. I'm not a podcaster, right? I'm a mortgage banker. Jay's a real estate agent. We have other passions such as sports and Deep Creek that we like to talk about. But buying a second home, I've found two different people. I find that people are I've got friends that have talked about buying a second home for years, and they just don't pull the trigger. And that's, I'm not knocking on my friends that do. That's not for everybody, right? And a lot of it's scared. A lot of it's not knowing how to do the financing and just being scared to kind of jump into that market. I always say like a stock, right? If you buy a stock and it drops, everyone's like, "Oh, I lost money." Well, you lost if you sold. Usually if you buy a safe stock, it's going to go back up. Same thing with real estate. You and I both lived literally we're months apart in age and we're months apart into the time into the industry. You and I both lived through the crash of 2008. Okay. A lot of people lost their ass during that, and it happened. Okay. A lot of people didn't. A lot of people capitalized on it. A lot of people also just rode the wave. And I'm going to tell you, I was one of those. I had 5 properties at the time, and I watched my net worth get cut in half on just property value. I kept renting it. And watched it come back over about 10 years. Right. Mm-hmm. I didn't lose. I sold some homes, made some money. It happens, right? Not everyone maybe had that option. But for a lot of folks, it's, do you want to buy a second home to live in and not rent out? Do you want to buy a second home to live in when you can and rent it out with a property management company, right? Which you've got connections, obviously. And, that's what I do. I rent my home when I'm not up there because it's free money to me, and I'm going to take that right now. Or do you want to buy it as a true investment property, which is a little different, a 12-month lease. That's a little bit of a different monster, and not as, from my understanding, not as common in Deep Creek to have just a true 12-month lease rental. It happens. There's options, but it's not as common, right? Mm-hmm. So talk to the audience here a little bit about that, because I think that's the education a lot of folks want. And here's the part I'll tell you in advance. I talked to one of Jay's clients this past weekend, which we can catch up on. And I told her, I said, the best part about Jay is he's not going to tell you what you need or want to hear to buy a home to get you to buy a home. Mm-hmm. Jay's probably you might even feel at some point, he's like, you're going to walk away and go, does this guy actually want me to buy a home? Does he want, he's going to actually make you think, because he wants you to make the right decision. And he's going to ask questions that are going to probe you a little bit to really do some soul searching. You're also going to realize he actually only cares about your happiness and your goals. He doesn't care about a paycheck, right? And that's the truth. And that's one of the things that I admire about Jay is he's always speaking the truth. In fact, his whole company does. His company's amazing with that. They're the best group of folks for that. But so speak to us a little bit about that, and I'll shut up.
No, I appreciate that. A really good segue. During COVID and the pandemic, I probably talked 500 people out of buying. In some cases it was good advice, some cases it wasn't good advice. But in 24 years of doing this, I learned very quickly. Investors, when people talk about investments, when they call and say, "I'm an investor, I'm interested in buying property at Deep Creek," I learned to cut 2 hours of time out of every conversation just by starting with, well, just so you know, and I made myself the promise. Anytime I talk to anybody and they say the I word, investing, There is nothing in Deep Creek Lake that cash flows. Nothing. Unless you're paying cash. And the rentals or whatever you're going to do offset the utilities and the real estate taxes, the wear and tear, the maintenance, those kind of things. Nothing pays for itself. So you're always going to have cash out of pocket every month. Now you can narrow the numbers and that, you can put more money down. There's different ways, tax incentives that kind of offset some of the investment, but nothing pays for itself. And that's the best advice that I start with anybody. And, so often a seasoned investor that, they ask about cap rates. There's no such thing as a cap rate at Deep Creek Lake. Yeah. I'm sure there is, but, we don't talk about cap rates. It's, do you want to be here and do you enjoy spending time in this area? It kind of leads to something else that you had said. Some people are on the fence and some people might be afraid. Some people just haven't pulled the trigger yet. With our vacation rental department, I got to see through Jody Rafosco's lens. We had internal data of people that would come and stay at TaylorMade, and they would start with, a weekend vacation, being introduced to Deep Creek for the first time. Yeah. Then you would see the next year they would come up and spend a week. Well, before you know it, you start to see the life cycle of these people. So it was, 5 to 7 years, typically. People come up, they vacation, they like it. And if you don't, you're not coming back to Deep Creek. You're going to Colorado, or you're going to Vermont, or you're going to Canaan Valley, or you're going to the Caribbean, or you're going to Florida, wherever it is. Yeah. That's the beauty of Deep Creek. You can still come and enjoy the weekend here and not have to buy anything. But enough people have, after the third or fourth, fifth time you've rented, now you're bringing friends and their kids, and everybody's, running around and having a great time. And it always turns into this sitting around the fire outside or sitting around the living room, chatting like, how much money we've wasted renting. Maybe we should buy here. So that's kind of the beginning of that life cycle. And, after you vacation somewhere 3, 4, 5 times, if you want to be there or not. Right. So
you do. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, how you tell me. I mean, I can't remember if you were coming up and staying or what brought you up here.
So, yeah, for me,
your Morgantown connection brought you up here because you would go skiing when you were at WVU, right?
It is. So I grew up an hour south of Morgantown, just went to high school in West Virginia, right?
Oh,
grew up. Yeah.
Right.
So I'm from West Virginia, grew up an hour south of, well, let me say that an hour south of Deep Creek, basically 30 minutes south of Morgantown. So I could leave my house and I could be at Wisp in like an hour and 20 minutes.
Is that Clarksburg?
Yeah, Clarksburg, Bridgeport. Yep.
Gotcha.
So
okay.
I would leave there. So I learned to ski at Wisp. That's where I learned to ski when I was like 11 or 12 years old, right? And then fast forward, I went to WVU, 30 minutes south of Deep Creek, maybe 45, depending on that speed. That my F-150 will go 95, so it will roll. Maybe need some new tires, but it'll go fast. And then no. So I loved Deep Creek as a kid. When I was at WVU on Tuesdays, you could go. So let me think about this. So
the McDonald's coupons that you could get.
This was Casa Diamici.
Okay.
So Casas on High Street. So I could go to Casa Diamici. You had to go on a Tuesday, and you had to get the 1 slice and soda special, or pop, whatever you want to call it, pop soda. But I'd get a Coke and a slice of pepperoni pizza for $1.99, and you kept the receipt. And if you took that to Wisp, you had to take it on a Thursday. So you had to buy it on a Tuesday and take it on a Thursday. Don't know why, whatever. That was their thing. So my junior year in Morgantown at WVU, I scheduled 0 classes on Thursday. I would drive up to Wisp in the winter, and I would use my Casa Diamici receipt, and I would show them at the ticket counter, and I would get it. And you had to show your student ID, right?
Right. Yeah.
And it was a $7 all day, all night lift ticket with rental if you didn't have your own skis for $7 when I was in college. So I skied for $7 every Thursday during ski season, my junior and senior year at WVU. So then fast forward, I graduate, finance major, moved to DC, and I've been here since, but always coming back to West Virginia or Pittsburgh or Deep Creek because that's my roots. And I kind of knew I wanted to buy in Deep Creek without having to revisit, but I got your information and took one weekend and kind of popped back up there. And it was like, was like riding a bike. Like I drove around and I still knew the roads didn't change in Deep Creek over 30 years. The roads were pretty much the same, but the housing changed. There was more options. There was more housing. There was more to do. There was more restaurants there. The Honey Honey was still there and Uno's was still there, but there was a couple staples that are just there. And, but anyways, that's what brought me there to buy as a second home. But you said something earlier I wanted to say before I kick it back over to you. Right. And you told me instantly, like, you're not going to cash flow in Deep Creek. If you're buying this as an investment property,
not year one, not year two, but if you pour your heart and soul into it, you can make it a profitable investment.
You can. And then the other side to it is, you will be paying down your mortgage through time. There will come a moment where you've paid it down or you've done a principal curtailment or, hey, haven't forbid you pay it off at some point, right? And you can cash flow a little easier, right? So that will happen. Here's kind of the interesting part too. And I'm just going to give you numbers. So let's say your monthly outlay is $4,000 a month for your house. I'm just giving you a number here. $4,000 a month is what you're paying. And that's utilities, DirecTV, everything. $4,000 all in. And let's say on average at the end of the year, you bring in, let's say $2,000, let's say half. Like maybe you should bring in more than that, right? More than, and I've seen that, right? You should bring in more than 24,000. Let's say you bring in 24,000. So you bring in half. So you can look at it two ways. You can say, I now own a cool second home in Deep Creek Lake that I can go to whenever I want. And it doesn't cost me $4,000 a month. It costs me $2,000. So you have to be comfortable knowing that I now have this for $2,000 a month. But never forget this, and this is where it hits home for clients. Look at your amortization schedule. I'm going to hand that to you on your loan. And you're going to realize that of that $4,000 that you're paying, $1,000 of that's going towards principal, even in year one. Like right away, $1,000 is going towards principal pay down. So strangers are renting your home and giving you $2,000. You're paying $1,000, not $2,000, because you're building equity of $1,000. Yes, you're paying $2,000, but all you're doing is transferring that extra $1,000 from your checking to equity in your home. So that's still your money. You're just moving it to a place that you can get at a later date, whether it's a home equity line, selling the home, whatever. People tend to forget that. They just look at the straight cash flow and forget that they're building equity and someone else is paying down their home. So when you look at it that way, and those are true numbers, it's not cash flow. But man, you can own a home up there and not really have that much cash out of your pocket, and you're really gaining, right? But forget all that. It's the enjoyment, it's the memories you're making. It's sitting by the fire. It's going, it's seeing Jay at a pizza place and having a coffee. It's
teaching your kids to ski, teaching them how to wakeboard.
All of it. So anyways.
Well, on top of that, the other part of the investment model that does make sense here is when I started selling real estate it was late 2001. I got to watch this change. You could buy a lakefront house on Marsh Hill Road for $375,000. So that 3,000 square foot lakefront home, type A dock, meaning you've got 2 boat slips, 2 miles from the Wisp. You've got the best of both worlds. You're right on the lake. You are 3 minutes from the ski slopes. So it's year round. That's one cool thing we haven't talked about with Deep Creek is it's 4 seasons. There's always something to do here. There's a rental market for every season.
Right here.
So that same house.
Right up there. What's that? That flag. Can you see it? It's the Masters,
right?
Yeah. So 4 seasons. You talk later about all the golf courses there. Anyways.
Oh yeah, for sure. I forgot to mention golf when we talked. We were talking about whitewater. I was talking about the natural beauty. The golf courses are pretty amazing too. Yeah. But so that house that if you would have bought that in 2001, which a lot of people did right after September 11th, everybody was scared, and they were like. Moving out of DC, buying farms.
They were heading for the hills, as I say.
That truly is what happened. And then real estate doubled from 2000. I watched it double. So that same house in 2003 and 4 was now worth $750. Gosh. So on top of the $1,000 a month cash outlay, now your house is worth double what you paid for it. Okay. Something that we haven't talked about is you can come up whenever you want. People are going to rent it for a week during the summer. During the off season, it's maybe 2 or 3 day weekends. So you can come up Monday through Thursday, hang out, enjoy your time at the lake. It's not costing you anything.
All the time.
You're bringing your friends. You make charitable donations to, a school auction or to your church, or, for whatever reason, the off seasons, for you, the shoulder season.
I just did it. I just did Women's Giving Back in the DC area is a big charity. Yeah. And one of our loan officers at our company and my sister do a lot for that. And I donated the house for 5 days, and someone's coming in this Friday for 5 days. So
yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. So you get the tax write-offs, you got the depreciation. So all these things working together. Well, in 2004, we talked about the market blowing up in 2008. That same house on Marsh Hill Road was worth $1.2 million to $1.5 million in 2008. So now your initial investment of $375,000, which you've been renting the whole time, and given the rental numbers probably weren't so high back then, but they scale with the prices. Sure. So, and then we had some downtime, like you said. 2008 was a really rough time. I did the first short sale that ever happened in Deep Creek. None of us had ever known what a short sale was. I had only ever known price appreciation. Yeah. And all of a sudden, somebody paid $1.2 million or $1.1 million for a townhouse. And I won't say where, because if they are watching this, they'll know I'm talking about them. But it was a slope front duplex.
They'll unsubscribe very quickly from the channel.
Yeah, very quickly. And I'll probably get a hate message like, "Oh no, that was us." They paid $1 million for it, $1.1 million, which it was never worth that in the first place. Sure. It just got inflated. We did a short sale. They brought, we ended up selling it for like $700,000. So the market crashed. Now, if they would have held on to it during 2020, the pandemic, those prices shot right back up there again. That same unit sold for even higher. Yeah. So everything in real estate is a cycle. But think of having 20 years of vacations paid for. Yeah. Not to mention all the tax write-offs and all the happy people that are in your life that you let them go up and use your house. The charitable contribution. It's not just the write-offs. It's the giving back to the community and letting people use the house and experience that. So you couple all that together, and owning a second home is a pretty spectacular thing. But you're right. It's not for everybody. If you're not going to come up and use it, or you can't stomach the fact that, rentals might be down for 2 or 3 months or a year, like rentals right now are down 30 to 50%. And we can talk about that a little bit.
I can testify to that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, during the pandemic, everybody wanted to come to Deep Creek. Your numbers were through the roof. You couldn't even get a maintenance guy in there during the turnaround time. It was like, Bethlehem, no room at the inn. Yeah. So then travel thawed out. People could fly to Europe again. They could go to Hawaii. They could go to the Caribbean. They could go to the BVI. Yeah. And they're just taking a little bit of a break from Deep Creek right now. Yeah. It's not that they don't love Deep Creek. They're just not coming 5 or 6 times because it's the only place you could drive to. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah. And tell me this too. So even since I've been coming back to Deep Creek, because I feel like, I grew up around there, left, came back, right? And now I'm there to stay. You're not going to get rid of me.
You got your local card now, so you're good.
I'm working on the local card, right? And you're not going to get rid of me this time. But what I've noticed in the past 7 to 8 years, and I really think that these words shouldn't go together, but the boom from COVID and that real estate market there helped this. But I feel like it's more than that. It's sustained a little bit more than I expected. And when I say sustained, maybe not the rental income, but like a brewery opening, new restaurant, Firewater,
investment in the area,
Moonshadow. Like, I'm just saying, like, there's shout out to both places I've named.
Hey, there's 2 new auto parts stores in Oakland too. So
there you go. It's like I'm looking at this going, there's a lot of businesses opening. There's a lot of restaurants opening. There's a lot of positive stuff going on. Their Arrowhead Market, that I think they just did a complete renovation. That was pretty nice.
Popped in there. Royal Farms.
Yeah. Oh, where's that?
At the intersection of Glendale. You haven't seen that?
Oh.
There's a Royal Farms coming and another Dollar General, which is kind of funny, but Royal Farms will be there. I think they've been getting that lot ready all summer.
Oh, right
across from McDonald's, directly across the street from McDonald's.
That's what's going there. Okay, because I popped into the bar at the Cove.
Okay.
I should have bought that place, and you told me to. We're not going to talk about that right now.
No, you and I had a buddy of mine is the one that ended up doing all the renovation work. It was a good idea, but timing was off.
Timing was off. So, see, we digress. That's what this podcast is all about, though. This is not
the real stuff, though.
This is the real stuff, not scripted. You're gonna laugh. I'm holding a rock from Deep Creek.
Are you channeling your inner Deep Creek?
It's a paperweight on my desk.
Oh, cool.
And makes a nice sound, but it's smooth. It's like is that like a, I don't know, it's like the fidget spinner. I just rub this rock. I don't know.
Maybe it gives you Deep
Creek. I
Creek.
might have to cut this part out of the podcast. Maybe not. I don't know.
No, hey, that's another business idea. Deep Creek Lock. Instead of Deep Creek Lake, we just sell lucky rocks.
Just paint them. So let's go with this. So we've talked about, the challenges with and when I say challenges with owning a second home in Deep Creek, it's not a challenge. Just you have to really want to be there and enjoy your time there. And then everything else will fall into place.
Right.
If you're just rolling in and you're just investor mentality, might not be for you. Now, I've done investor loans up there. Mm-hmm. That might not be a lakefront property, though. That might be something in Garrett County's big. That might be a home in Garrett County, right? That's 15 miles from the lake. And someone's just buying
in the woods.
Yeah, just
a hunting camp on 100 acres. So there's a little bit of everything for everybody.
Yeah, there's a lot of that there, right? So there's plenty of opportunities. And forget talking about a primary. I mean, we haven't even gone there, but let's save that for another conversation. Mm-hmm. People buy there and move there, whether you want to work in Deep Creek or there's tons of people that work in Morgantown that live in Garrett County, tons, all the time, right? Sure. And we keep saying
drive to the hospital.
Yeah, Morgantown's that 45-minute drive or less. That's it's the largest city in the state of West Virginia during the year. So
it was at one point in the last 5 years, it was the fastest growing small city in America.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. So there's an economy around. Little known fact, and there's an economy around there. The other interesting part too is just other things to do. When I talked to your client this weekend, it was like, I'm like, yeah, you're an hour and a half from Pittsburgh. I know that sounds crazy to say that. They're like, oh, that's awesome. Like I could just drive an hour and a half and be in Pittsburgh. I'm like, yeah, you can. I was like, you could drive 19 miles because I've looked at it on the odometer, or 30 minutes to Lady Luck Casino and go hit up Nemacolin for a little bit. They're like,
well, if you're coming from Baltimore, DC, depending on which way you come, you're driving right by there.
Right by there, or you're hitting Rocky Gap Casino on the way up. You got a couple different options there. Nemacolin, I explained to her, was where The Bachelor was recorded during COVID. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
So 2021, the height of COVID, The Bachelor, which I've watched a few times.
I haven't.
Was what? It's hysterical.
I've seen enough to know what. Yeah,
it is hysterical. Okay, and everyone was quarantined, so they did it at Nemacolin. The whole thing, NBC or ABC or whatever said it, right? The whole thing was recorded there. Everyone was quarantined. They're running around the zoo with Joe Hardy, 84 Lumber, billionaire, who just,
with a B.
God rest his soul, he just died this year.
Yeah.
On a couple days after his 100th birthday. And he was still riding his golf cart around like his property at Nemacolin since then. So anyways, pretty. You
said something, just rewinding for a second, you were talking about how things have kind of sustained here, maybe against all odds. More small businesses are starting, more kind of like a la carte businesses, niche businesses, boat cleaning, just little cool stuff like that. This client that reached out to me, I had never spoken to her. She called me from Oregon.
I know.
I'm just saying that's one of the things that during the pandemic, it changed. Like normally, so here's a fun fact that I always tell people. Deep Creek Lake is the only ski resort and lake town within a 5-hour drive. You got to drive 5 hours in any direction to find another. And I think it's maybe upstate New York, where you've got the combination of a ski slope with the lake, not to mention the whitewater rafting and that 34% of the county is state park or state forest.
That's probably the Poconos somewhere out there.
It might be. I just know it's like a 5-hour radius. 35 million people live in that circle. So if you draw that circle out, 10% of the population is within a 3 to 5 hour drive time of Deep Creek.
Oh yeah.
During the pandemic, you were limited to driving, right? So
Yep.
we had more people coming down from New York, Connecticut, New Jersey, buying homes
Than ever before.
I mean, that's part of what launched everything. But so even down to Baltimore, DC, you talk to people in the street, what would you say? But 2 out of every 5, like 3 out of every 5 people have even heard of Deep Creek. Pittsburgh, we're on the Pittsburgh Weather Channel now, so more people from Pittsburgh know about Deep Creek, but critical mass of people don't even know about Deep Creek yet. But during the pandemic, we became kind of famous in New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, all these places, North Carolina, snowbirds coming back from Florida. It was always popular. I've sold 2 houses, and you did the loan for one of them. Buyers from Texas, 2 buyers from Texas.
I remember that.
One buyer, I've got 2 clients that are in Chicago, and Deep Creek is drawing these people in. You can fly in on a private jet to Morgantown. You can ask Pat McAfee about that.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah. So Deep Creek, this is one thing that I like to say, and it's kind of nerdy, but it became one of the reasons why rentals don't pay for everything is the price of the real estate. People want to be here.
Yeah,
so
they do.
It's like Malibu, Manhattan, Martha's Vineyard, Miami. There's nothing. Investors don't ask about cash rates in those areas. It's just,
they don't.
Can I afford to be here?
Yep.
Deep Creek kind of achieved that level. McHenry, there's your other M. Achieved that level of stature, and there's a lot of HGTV shows, and buying at the lake and that kind of stuff, and
lakefront bargain.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. Not so much a bargain now.
I forget the one I was on. I forget the name of it. It wasn't Bargain Hunters. It was something different. But there's so many people that are finding out about it. Chad was on an episode. It was on Amazon. Or no, it wasn't. It was the Magnolia Network. Chad did build a tree house, and so he's got his own episode.
Oh, yeah.
So more and more people are finding out about Deep Creek, kind of the Lake Tahoe of the East. And people want to be here for a lot of different reasons. The Four Seasons aspect of it is part of it. The other part of it is it's just the climate. Like, I don't know what our July probably isn't a really good example because it was hot here in July, but normally we're 15 degrees cooler than where you are in DC with no humidity.
I drive 2.5 hours, and I get there. And if it's 75 here, it's 62 in Deep Creek.
It's 48 degrees outside right now at 7:18. I've got my heat. I turned my heat on last night. I broke down.
Okay, it's 62. No, it's 68 here. So gives you an idea.
We're 15 degrees, give or take.
As the crow flies, I'm not that far from you mileage wise. Like I'm just not. So it's pretty cool. It's pretty crazy. Here's the other part too. You weren't wrong, really were trying to sell me at one point on buying a lakefront home. I get why. You get more rentals there. You do.
Well, it's scarcity. And we could talk about amenities and things like that. Lakefront is an amenity they're not making any more of.
Yep. And the cool part that I found too, and here's a shout out to Freedom Boat Club, is you can live on top of the mountain and you can still have your lakefront, right? I can drive 7 minutes down the mountain, go see Vicky over at the boat club, and you got 19 boats. You got 19 boats. Vicky will bring you some fresh eggs from her farm, which she literally will, and it's amazing. You got a pool right there. You've got your parking garage. You got everything you need, and it's 7 minutes down the hill. But when you're at the top of the mountain, so it's something for people to consider. You're at the top of the mountain or at the top of one of the mountains there. There's many streets that wind up in there, right? You can find a home with an amazing view or not an amazing view.
You can see West Virginia from your house.
From mine, yep. So when the leaves fall, you can see West Virginia, but it's secluded. You light a fire and you just have that fresh mountain air. And I'm telling you, when you're standing up there looking at the sky at midnight or 9, the stars, you're like, oh, wait, this is different. This is like, you can't find that. And people don't realize that it's there. So let's talk about, we've talked about a good bit of this. Let's talk about this might be a tough one. So I'm going to catch you here. What would be the biggest challenge or two of owning in a resort area? What would you say is the biggest frustration or challenge? And I might have one to add at the end if you.
Okay, yeah, and I mean, I might direct hit on one of your frustrations. Finding good contractors, a good team to help take care of everything. You can have a professional property manager if you are renting your home. You have professional property management you're paying for. If you're not renting and you have a second home, you've got a property manager that's keeping an eye on the place. They're, cleaning the house. It's kind of a la carte services. If you're trying to manage everything on your own and you lose your cleaner, or there's an emergency or something, you need to have a roster of trusted professionals, 2 or 3 positions deep. You need 2 or 3 plumbers. You need 2 or 3 electricians, because you can't, it's not like DC, where you could probably have somebody HVAC in your office to fix something today or tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's enough people to call to make that happen. Yeah.
Yeah. That is not one of the strengths of Deep Creek. If you have a problem on Thanksgiving weekend, good luck, because everybody is deer hunting. They are shut down. They are not answering their phones. You see the trucks
lined up. You see the trucks lined up on the interstate for the deer hunting.
That's it. Yeah. And, and God bless them. That's, that's an amazing thing. It's, part of Thanksgiving weekend. And it's just that annual, I'm not a hunter, but I've got plenty of friends who are, and it is what they've waited for all year. There's some contractors that, they work all summer and then they take the winter off, because their job's outside. They're not working out in the freezing cold. The weather, gets really cold here in the winter.
Yeah.
In a ski town, imagine that. But so that's a challenge, is not having people boots on the ground here to take care of things. What was yours? I mean, what were you thinking?
So it's maintenance. So I was going to say, when you have a second home or an investment property, and again, let's focus on the second home aspect. You have to know that when you go back to your home for your visit, because you've reserved your own home for a week's visit to come up to Deep Creek and relax, that when you first walk in, everything's not where you left it.
Nope.
The bedroom pillow's in the basement. The pillow from the couch is here. Why is that lamp in the other room? Why is this chair here? I'm missing. Where's the bottle opener? I'm missing it. There's no more can opener. You are going to have things moved around. You are going to and sometimes it might even be the cleaner moving something back, right? It's not even necessarily people, but people are living there. This isn't to turn anyone off. This is to be realistic.
It's being real. Yeah. These things are going to happen.
Are going to be living in your house. They're going to be paying you to do that. And in some cases, my house in January and February, you ski resort up at the top of the mountain, your chairlift 7, you're getting 11 grand income for the, 11, 12 grand for the month. That's a big month. Right. So, I'll go buy a new can opener for 11 grand that month. No problem. So you have to realize you will have to eventually put some money back into it.
I cannot stress enough. You get out of it what you put into it. From a rental standpoint, from an advertising standpoint, you can't just have a rental house and let somebody else advertise. You've got to tell your friends. You got to have a Facebook page. You got to do your own promotion. You are your best salesperson. And when you do those things, you can have a property that cash flows. It takes 2 or 3 years. There are some really cool things that you can do. But reinvesting, Jody Rafosco, who ran the rental side of things, always had a mantra: 10% of what you make each year. It's like the church with tithing. You give 10% back to God. With your rental house, 10% goes back into new refrigerator, new dishwasher. Let's buy a new couch. Let's paint. If you rent the doors off the thing, it's not gonna feel very homey when you come to stay there.
Yeah, no. So that would be my only, and again, when I'm saying challenges of owning, it's just getting used to that. And then once you get used to it, it's not a challenge. You walk in.
If you have a good team, the other thing is there's no such thing as instant gratification, right? So if you decide that you're going to build, an outdoor patio at your house. You can't just call a guy and be like, I want to pick out the bricks this weekend. Go ahead and get started on Monday. I'll write you the check. Are we, having a fire next weekend or what? That could be a 6-month thing, right?
It can be. Yeah, it can be. And the cool part is you take your time, you expand on it, but I'm telling you, many of the memories I have that are good in my life are from Deep Creek right now. And it's friends, family, parties,
cornhole
tournaments, skiing, teaching Emmy and Robbie, my kids, how to ski and going boating. And it is,
Pony guest bartenders.
That's it. And
Yeah.
the fun part too is as you visit and keep coming back, people recognize you. You'll start to, and everyone's so friendly. And I really mean, like, people are friendly. People, you really just can't wait to go back there. So I can't stress enough. You're looking for a second home. You're one of those 5 million people within that 5-hour radius.
35 million.
Yeah. 35 million.
35.
I mean, it's 35. Okay. And you want a place to go look. There's options. I might be catching you on this one. You probably have it from a sales meeting recently, and maybe you know it, maybe you don't.
Well, if I don't, you can edit this out.
Yeah, we can edit it out, or we'll just roll with it. Can you take a guess at current inventory active on market?
Yeah, there's I looked one day this week, 219, 220 homes for sale in all of Garrett County.
So what's the lowest you ever saw?
Lowest I ever saw was 69. There were 69 houses at two different points.
Okay.
69 houses for sale right after 9/11.
Okay.
And then during the pandemic, it might have been June or July. Because, I mean, there were a lot of people that were like, oh, my gosh, I've got to sell this house because I can't even get to it.
Yeah.
But at one point during the summer of 2020, it was down to 60. It was 68 or 69 houses for sale. Our normal market.
What's normal? That was my next question.
When you bought in 2016, when the market crashed in 2008, there were 400 or 500 houses for sale.
I said 400. Okay.
Okay.
So
I mean, 500 might be high.
What's healthy? 300 in between?
Well, the healthiest. So it took us 10 years to recover because Deep Creek is a want-based market. It's not a need. It's a want. You don't need to live here. You want to. Now, that changed for 2 years during COVID. It became a need, and now it's flipped back to a want. So that's why the inventory started to stack up again. But, a healthy time, 2008 and 2018, 2019, took us 10 years to recover. That was the first year where we had year-over-year price appreciation. So prices went up 3.6% in 2018. And all of a sudden, you're like, oh, my gosh, the market felt healthy. It felt good. There was a good balance. If there were, if you wanted to come up and look at houses, there were 10 houses that I could show you to show you options, right? So 2019, it was a little bit it was starting to grow. The inventory, the prices were back to what they were pre-2008. Actually, it wasn't even to that level yet, but the prices were on the rise. It was a good time to buy. COVID happened. Then all of a sudden, now we can only get into 3 houses. You're going to drive 6 hours from, Vermont or wherever to come down and see. I can only get you into 3. That's it. That's all that's. And well, you were on the way. 2 of them were under contract. So if you're coming to buy, bring your checkbook, bring a suitcase full of cash. That's how crazy it was. So now we're at 2.
Bring that pre-approval letter.
Yes. Forgive me. Pre-approval letter
or cash.
Yeah. Well, I mean, cash, they can always refinance and pull the cash out. You needed the cash to get the property.
That's right.
Then you call Rob to pull the cash back out.
That's right.
But no, healthy wise, there was so we're starting to get back to the point where I feel it's healthy. Because there's some bad things that happen. There's a lot of people that are priced out of the market now. And it's not like, oh my gosh, you can't afford a vacation home. There's a lot of locals that first-time home buyers, there's nothing for them to buy. That's a nationwide thing. That's just not Deep Creek.
That is nationwide, and
it's sad. But there's a lot of people also, over 20 years ago when I bought my first house, I had saved up 20 or 30%. I mean, my first house, before I bought anything, I had saved that money up and I was ready to go. I wasn't trying to buy it 0%, everything, and I have no money. And that's something that you see now, and there's a lot of different reasons for that. But to go back to your original point is right now there's about 210, 220 houses for sale, probably 50 or 60 under contract. And that's starting to get back to what I would consider Garrett County normal, where our normal market time was 6 to 9 months. During COVID, it was like 6 to 9 days. And, that's only because people don't live here. They had to jump in the car and drive up here to see it. But it's
so let me ask you this. So part of what I feel has made McHenry, Swanson, Deep Creek area, Grantsville, the whole surrounding area, right? My favorite town, Accident, not by accident, Maryland, right? So they have a new brewery there, I saw.
Brewery and the Beast. I have not eaten there, but I've
Yeah.
heard incredible things about it.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to stop next time.
There's 3 or 4 breweries within a 20-minute drive of the lake.
Yeah,
So I'm gonna have to take you to 1 or 2 of them.
Yeah. So it's like one thing that I feel when I'm there compared to at different moments when I've been there in my career and life is I'm seeing. So I'll give an example. So I was in this summer with Alec and Chris, my teammates, our friends, and no, I take it back. I was up with Robbie. I was up with my son and his buddy Adrian. So let me take it back. And I was at Carefree Boat Club, and it was the summer, and I had the double-decker pontoon. It's called Aladdin 3 is the name of the boat because it's the third one they've had. And we were taking the double-decker out for a day on the water with Robbie, his buddy Adrian, myself. And when we're walking to the boat to get on, a kid named Logan walks up and goes, "Hey, Adrian. Hey, Robbie." And I'm like, well, I don't live there full time. My son doesn't go to high school there. So I'm like, how do you guys know this guy? And they're like, he went to our high school in Ashburn, Virginia last year.
Mhm.
His family had bought during COVID. I hate to say during COVID, but bought during the pandemic. Loved Deep Creek so much, they literally relocated from where I'm physically sitting, my butt in this cheeks in the seat, cheeks in the seat right here. They literally moved there. And now Logan, who went to high school with my son and his buddy Adrian 2 years ago, was working the dock in the summer and lives there. So part of what you said is that I think did change a little bit is some of those folks with COVID where they were going to an office every day and now they could work virtual. A lot of employers, you can still work virtual. So for both of his parents, I was talking to him. I'm like, hey, what made you move from Ashburn and blah, blah, blah. The kid said, yeah, both my parents started working remotely and they continued. They never went back. And we love coming to Deep Creek so much that we just decided to move here. And that was that. So it's
a lot of people did that.
Yeah. And I think that's what's made it's what's kept real estate higher in value. It's why there's 3 breweries there now and Firewater Kitchen and all these places opening because it's a little more sustainable because there is a difference during the height of ski season trying to get into a restaurant and during the height of summer trying to get in somewhere versus when I come up on October 28th, right?
Right.
It's a little easier to get in everywhere. And we mentioned golf earlier. There's 3-4 really good golf course options up there. So there's a lot of folks doing golf trips and still renting up there. So don't
have outside investment, like people that I don't. You mentioned you ate at PF Chang's for lunch. I don't think I've ever eaten at a PF Chang's. I don't know where one is unless it's Pittsburgh or probably Frederick or Rockville. So for me, that's different. For you or for people that live down there that are coming up here, that's the norm.
Yeah.
So some of these people are coming up here and they're living and they're missing shopping. They're going to Morgantown. Morgantown's the closest mall.
It is,
and that's not the level mall that you're used to shopping at if you're in Montgomery County or in DC.
Yeah.
So, there are people that are opening boutiques. There are people that are opening interior design shops. They're bringing their capital and investing it here in Garrett County.
Yeah.
And, so it goes back to that conversation that I had with people in high school is if you want to make, teachers, if you want to make anything in your life, you want to make money, you got to leave Garrett County. Like, no. Garrett County doesn't have industry. We don't have the Amazon HQ2. We don't have, but what we do have are wealthy people and people that love the area that have the smarts and the know-how that are bringing their capital and investing in here, planting their roots and starting businesses. And that's how Garrett County is going to grow. It's not a normal resort town.
It's not
anymore. It's people are coming and Garrett County is growing in an organic way. But it's different than how Morgantown grew around a hospital. It's different than how Pittsburgh grew around steel mills. It's different than how DC grows with the amount of people. Like every administration, every 2 to 4 years, DC kind of resets a little bit.
It does.
And that's something that brings more and more people to Deep Creek. A new administration. There's people want a vacation home. Where are we going to go? What's this Deep Creek place?
Oh, your friend from that you met from Oregon, your new client.
Yeah,
lives in Oregon. Her boyfriend, as she told me this past weekend, lives in DC which is 30 minutes further than I'm at. So DC to, it's funny, DC to DC to Deep Creek,
and DCL, yeah.
DC to DCL is 3 hours, 320. Okay.
Yeah.
And she goes, yeah, I want to buy something close to DC where my boyfriend's at, so he can hop up there if he needs to. Now, as she was saying that in my head, I'm going, it's not close. And she goes, oh, it's 3 hour drive. It's close. So everyone's definition's a little different.
Closer than Oregon is, you know what I mean?
Closer than Oregon. So, and she was, so it's interesting on that. So let me ask you this, as we're coming up on an hour, it goes quick, but I don't mind these being long because I love my own podcast, listening to them all the time. It's fun when people, hey, next time someone's driving to Deep Creek to meet you to look at some real estate, they might listen to this as their education on the way up, right? So maybe that's
and they know to stop at Brewery of the Beast for lunch.
They know
to go to the Honey now for a drink for
stop at the Rolling Pin Bakery. So or maybe they're gonna stop at Nemacolin or Lady Luck Rocky Gap Casino, and they're going to win a couple hands and they're going to win their down payment. So now they're going to come buy cash because they, so they can
we want them financing some of it.
That's just a little bit. Right. So let me ask this. Where do you see the future? I've never asked you this one. Okay. Where do you see the future of Deep Creek? And I'm going to say, tell me where you see Deep Creek 5 years from now.
Okay.
And give me a crystal ball stab at 10 years from now.
Okay.
Now and I'm going to, before you even answer, there was probably a 20-year period where not much changed at all.
Actually, I would disagree with that because living here the whole time, things change. And, so this will kind of be fun because I can walk you through this.
Okay.
20 years ago, there was no Walmart. There was no Lowe's. There was no Tractor Supply. There were half the restaurants. I mean, Uno's, Silver Tree, 20 years ago, McClive's.
Okay.
Which you've never heard of McClive's.
No.
Like, was
JG's Pub there?
JG's was there for sure.
JG's, okay.
And then, but where Castleman Bakery is now was like a custard stand. You could go and get, a chicken sandwich and an ice cream cone. Okay. Where the pizza place, Fox's is now, that was a liquor store. There were a lot of different bars that changed. There were a lot more marinas.
Okay.
So anyway, I mean, 20 years ago, so things have changed. Where was your favorite place to go when you went to the beach? What was your beach town that your parents took you to when you were a kid?
Oh, well, anyone listening that lived in West Virginia, there's only one answer. It's called Myrtle Beach.
Okay. I had a feeling you were going to say that. My in-laws bought and sold a condo in the last 10, 12 years.
Okay.
And they'll probably watch this podcast.
Yeah, I love it.
They bought a condo down in Myrtle Beach at a place called Compass Cove. And it was like indoor water park downstairs. They would go and spend, at first they'd spend a month there, 2 months, 3 months. They would stay down in Myrtle Beach. Then they sold that unit and bought an oceanfront condo where they could sit out. And, it was a little bit more space, extra bedroom so they could have the grandkids down, all that stuff. But somewhere along the line, Myrtle Beach, when was the last time you were in Myrtle Beach?
So not this August from a couple months ago, but August of 2023, I spent a week with both Emmy and Robbie, my kids. And then we were there the previous year for a spring break. So I've actually been twice. Okay. Once in 2022 and once in 2023 and stayed in North Myrtle at the Marriott.
Okay. Was it any different than what you remembered as a kid?
Not. Okay. So that's tricky.
Like a volume of people.
Yes. It's a tricky question. Yes.
It is a tricky
significantly question. Different.
Yeah.
There was a few of the old nostalgic things that I was looking for. If you go to Old Myrtle, little funky smell in the air if you're walking in Old Myrtle, if you follow my drift, right? A little something. Maybe a couple Deadhead concerts going on. But but Old Boardwalk was fun and it's nostalgic, right? It's where the Ripley stuff is and all that. And there's still like some of the old New York Prime and some of the staples, right? Deep Creek has the staples, but different and growing and housing but still. So I'll tell you, when I was in college so 25 years ago in Myrtle Beach, you still had Broadway at the beach. and you still had Broadway at the beach, and you still had
There's another
Barefoot Landing was the other one.
Barefoot Landing. Yep, that's
right?
it.
So you
Yep.
still had those two, and they're still there, but they're like, there's new stuff. It's like modern.
The Margaritaville. I had my hot sauce encounter at Barefoot at the Beach.
Yeah.
So
and
we'll
it's
talk about that.
By the way, I love Myrtle. It's awesome. My kids absolutely love it. So,
Well, so my beach when I was a kid was the Outer Banks. It was Nags Head, Kill Devil Hills. It wasn't north like Duck and Corolla. It was Nags Head, Kill Devil Hills, Kitty Hawk. So I remember going as a kid, and you'd see some mini golf courses, and of course there's the seafood restaurants and that stuff. But when you're driving along the beach, you'd see a big house, and then you'd see nothing but sand. And then a house, and then, but you can see the ocean driving along the main beachfront road there.
That's true.
When I went back in my 20s, it was a lot different. There were more houses. There were less places that I could see, so that land had been developed. Yep. Deep Creek is kind of the same way. There are not many lakefront lots left. There's probably 2 miles, maybe 3 miles of undeveloped shoreline that are owned in big chunks by, some of the original families that owned the lake. But now you're not seeing as many houses. The cottage from 1950, drive down Marshall Road. 20 years ago, you drive down Marshall Road. I sold a little lakefront house for $158,000. It was called the Sugar Shack. And it was a 2-bedroom, like it was an old school cottage. And a lot of those places weren't built for the winter. Yeah. It was folks from Pittsburgh or whatever that they would come up during the summer. Yeah. And there's certain areas around the lake where it was all Pittsburgh.
It was the party house.
Well, it was a party house, but it was all the cousins would come together. Yeah. And hey, this summer we've got the lumber. We're going to add on. We're going to build on another bedroom. Yeah. So you see these old school, like what I would call vintage Deep Creek houses. Yeah. So that's changed. Those houses are disappearing. Yeah. The only place, you can't buy a lakefront lot and build your brand new house that you want to build your vision. You got to buy something else, and you got to tear it down.
You got it. You got to tear it down, rebuild, and you got to do it within the zoning.
Within the grandfathered footprint and all that stuff, limited parking, all those things. Not everywhere has public sewer.
Certain trees you can't cut down, possibly. There's
definitely some trees you don't want to cut down. But so I would predict 5 to 10 years from now, you are going to see more and more. You're going to see less and less original Deep Creek cottages. Unless somebody had maintained it. Now, not everybody, that's one thing from a property ownership standpoint. There are houses I've driven by for 24 years, longer. I've lived here my whole life. Yeah. Driving by, and I've never seen anybody at these houses. They're dilapidated. It's like it's stupid money that these people I think they forget they own this lake house, so they become dilapidated
on it. Yeah.
But then there's other mega mansions that you don't see anybody at. They've kept it in their family. It's a legacy property. That's mostly the southern part of the lake. Yeah. So when you couple all that together,
when you say southern part of the lake, it help me understand that, because I'm still.
So north and south, Glendale Bridge goes right across. There's 3 bridges. The 219 bridge, you cross it all the time. Glendale is where if you follow Glendale Road out to the McDonald's, that's where the new Royal Farms is going to be. Yep. And it leads to the state park, and then the state park bridge, small bridge right there. Yeah. Everything south of the Glendale Bridge, kind of artificially, is what I would consider the south part of the lake. Okay. It becomes a little more flat. You don't see as many mountains down there. The northern part of the lake has more mountains. It is where most of the public water and public sewer are. So at one point, I'm sure this is not accurate now, but at one point it was like the houses on the northern part of the lake outsold the southern part of the lake 7-1, because there were townhouses, condos. You could build more density. Yeah. The people in the southern part of the lake don't want that density. They've been there. Some of those people have been there, their families, since the 20s and the 30s when they built the lake was constructed. Yeah. Incidentally, Deep Creek is turning 100 this year. Oh, wow. So I want to talk to you about some cool stuff that we're sponsoring the centennial. We're trying to bring some really cool stuff back to Deep Creek, but that's a different podcast. Yeah, I love that. But the southern part of the lake is mostly well and septic. So 90% of the properties at the lake have well water. Yeah. I grew up on well water. Our aquifer. I grew up 2 miles from Deer Park, 1 mile from Deer Park. So my water is Deer Park water that they sell by the bottle. That was my water supply as a kid, and I loved it. So the southern part of the lake has wells, septic, And if you have a septic system, you need an acre. You need, an acre and a half. And it pushes people further away. So you've got more privacy. People are willing to pay a little bit more for that privacy instead of, the northern part of the lake where almost all the restaurants are, because you think the southern part of the lake, you've never been to a restaurant on the southern shores of Deep Creek Lake. There aren't any.
Yeah.
So those are some of the subtle differences geographically. The water is deeper on the north part of the lake because the mountains, as mountains go down, the water tends to, it's deeper. The shore keeps going down.
Deepest part of the lake's the dam, right by the dam.
That's it. 70, 72, 75 feet. Southern part of the lake, it's flatter. So you got to go further out. You could walk out, 30, 40, 50 feet and you're still up to your chest. You know what I mean? So there's some subtle differences. But, so I think 5 to 10 years from now, you're going to see less and less, of the original constructed houses at Deep Creek. And that's on one hand, that's sad. Yeah. On the other hand, it's progress. You know what I mean? It's more people investing in our area and, the tax basis and all that stuff. It's growing the lake. Yeah. I think you're going to see some more restaurant options and things like that. Deep Creek is still, and it's, even though it's 100 years old from a resort standpoint, and I mean this with all due respect to Myrtle Beach, I hope it never becomes that commercialized. Correct. We went to Pigeon Forge and Gatlinburg last year, and it was like being in Las Vegas in the mountains. Yeah. And I hope Deep Creek doesn't become that. And there's a lot of people that, that we talked about Facebook groups and that kind of stuff. Yeah. There's people that I remember when, there was only 2 boats on the lake and you didn't see another soul all day. So it's all relative. Progress is good, but it also comes at a price. But, without Deep Creek Lake, Garrett County would be just another, abandoned coal mining town like you see in West Virginia and all those places. All over. Without the lake, we wouldn't have a Walmart. We wouldn't have the Lowe's. We wouldn't have 15 or 20 of the restaurants that we would have. We wouldn't have the incredible roads and, the infrastructure that the Whitewater ASCII course, that's awesome. One of two, there's 2 of them in the world. Yeah. Recirculating whitewater courses. So, 5 years from now, I think you're going to start to see more and more houses, more development. I think 10 years from now, maybe we've got an Applebee's and a Texas Roadhouse. Maybe you've got a seafood place. Maybe we have probably not a mall, but I think that you start to see more commercial infrastructure. You see Morgantown growing up, and I think that more and more doctors. Morgantown growing with the hospital and the incredible health, system that we have. Those doctors, there's a lot of them that live in Deep Creek, and they just drive over.
Yeah, one of my best friends, growing up, Eric, is an anesthesiologist in Morgantown, and he lives in Bridgeport a half hour the other way, but he could live in Deep Creek a half hour, 45 minutes the other way. So that's what I'm saying for folks that. You can live right over the border in West Virginia and still or not work there in Morgantown. And because Morgantown's big, those that don't know West Virginia, Morgantown's big city living, right? And there's Mylan Pharmaceuticals. It's the second largest generic drug manufacturer. And forget that, the university, it's 40,000 strong, right? So
if not more now. I think
it's wild.
It might be 50,000.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Not counting the teachers, the faculty, all the support staff.
All of it.
So I guess what I would say is, as technology grows, and during the pandemic, it was different where people could work remotely. Of course, there's trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars of empty commercial space that those businesses are saying, well, we can't sell it to pull the people back to work. So that's kind of like tipping the scales a little bit now. Yeah. But I do think over the next 5 or 10 years, more and more people are going to figure out a way to live where they want to play and not in a box, in a townhouse, in a rubber stamped subdivision that looks exactly, you know what I mean? Like,
I live part of that. So let me tell you, or let me ask you this too. So future building in Deep Creek. So let's say someone doesn't want to tear down and rebuild. And let's say someone doesn't want to resell. And let's say someone doesn't want to live in Oakland. They want to live. So I'm going to say they want to live within a 5-mile drive to the lake, maybe less, maybe a 4 mile drive to the lake, five, something like that. Do you see some of that development? So a lot of it's happening at the top where I live, at the top of the mountain, because there's places to build, kind of coming down to the backside of the mountain. They keep building down through there. Do you see that continuing? And do you see that continuing out towards Mountain State Brewery out that way?
For sure. Yeah.
That seems like you can drive 5 minutes and you're everywhere.
Well,
right?
in that, I mean, to your point, you said 5 miles away from the lake. That's not even a mile away from the lake, Mountain State Brew Pub.
Yeah,
but I think what you're going to see is, and this is something that Garrett County is blessed with, we have an incredible Amish population down in Pleasant Valley. I don't know if you've ever even been down through Pleasant Valley, but it's one of my favorite places to go.
Yeah.
There's some cool hot spots that I'll take you down there. Having land.
Yeah.
If you don't, not everybody wants to live on the lake. This is one point I wanted to make earlier. I ask people, my email address is deepcreeklaker@gmail.com. What kind of Deep Creek Laker do you want to be? Come vacation here before you buy something, going back to that thread of talking people out of buying it. If you see yourself that you have to have the boat in front of you, looking out your window, then you have to buy a lakefront property, or you've got to buy something with a dock. Because Carefree Boat Club isn't for everybody. If you want your own boat 24/7 and nobody's touching it, but you want to go down and sing lullabies to it goodnight, and you take such good care of your boat, you've got to buy one of those properties. There are some people that don't want anything to do with that lake. So this time of year, it's one of my favorite times of year in the Appalachians, in the mountains, because of the cooler temperatures, really hot days, cool nights, crisp, skies where you can see the stars. But some people come only to Deep Creek just for the fall. Yeah. Some people come only in the spring because they want the whitewater rafting and the snow melt off. And just so, what kind of Deep Creek Laker are you going to be? Yeah. And then to answer your question, 5 miles out from the lake, I could sell you a 400-acre farm that it's just yours. I don't think we're ever going to have the major subdivisions that you see outside of just about every city. I hope we don't. I hope we have, development, and Maryland has some things in place that would prevent that. It's like the Planned Maryland Initiative 10 or 15 years ago. Garrett County is an agricultural place, and they wanted to stay agricultural. So unless you have major infrastructure with regards to public water and public sewer, you can't do major developments. But you can have 1,000 acres of land that you could ride four-wheelers and hunt and fish and do whatever it is that you want to do. Those big farms that, it's too much for somebody to maintain. They're generational farms. You can trace a lot of those farms back to the military lots after winning, after we won the Revolutionary War. George Washington gave this family the land. And I've sold some of those chunks, and it's exciting to see. Like, you see a Revolutionary War, you see a graveyard with a family, and I'm drawing a blank on the name of the family. You see somebody that fought in every single war the United States has ever been in. They're buried on the family farm. Oh, wow. So you buy that. Yeah. I mean, you buy a chunk of 50 acres or 20 acres. Maybe you can have some amazing 10,000 square foot homes, and you got a barn, and you got cattle, and you got chickens out there. So you can have the luxury, and you can have the, whether it's a farmette or a gentleman's farm, gentlewoman's farm, however you want to put it. It's a different kind of lifestyle. So Garrett County offers all of that already, on top of, I've got a client who wants to buy, his wife wants to buy the, $1.2 million lakefront house. Yeah. He wants the 80 acres with the hunting camp. For him and his son, but they're 20 minutes away from each other. You can have that. Yeah. And so I do see more and more people living here full time. With Starlink, you can have internet access anywhere now, and it's reliable. It's very, it's good. It's fast. So as long as you can take your job with you, you can do that. And that makes it possible to live anywhere on the planet, that you can have that kind of connectivity and still be good at what you do. But you can, and you and I talked about that a little bit. What are we going to do? Where we go for the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years of our life with our kids, and as that stuff kind of transitions. So that's what I'm excited about, is Deep Creek's going to change. It's not going to be, there's going to be some things that kind of make you sad, like, oh my gosh, there's more traffic. I think at one point we had 14 traffic lights in the whole county. We might be up to 17 or 18 now. I'm not sure. the biggest traffic jam you sit in each year is after the fireworks. You have to sit 20 or 30 minutes before you can get out. A lot of people get frustrated with that. But also with that comes convenience, more grocery store options, more diverse, farmers markets, and just specialty services. And I think that Deep Creek is ready for that. So that goes back to your question about challenges. The more and more people that come up here and you bring your service business or you bring your small business, there are plenty of places that you could start a cleaning company. You could start your own electric, another Rush Services or whatever.
Yeah.
Those things are needed. And so that growth is probably going to be a good thing to help grow the community.
There's probably room for a plumber because with all those homes.
I mean, plumbers, electricians. I think I know about 2,000 landscapers. And some are good at what they do, some aren't. But it's finding your team who works for you, and then you've got a relationship with them. Like you said, something that you said earlier that I'm really, really, really proud of, and I'm sure Clarksburg and Bridgeport are kind of the same way. I know Morgantown was. There are some nice people here. You find jerks anywhere you go, but for the most part, people wave to each other. You say hello. You hold the door for people. That's something that when I come to visit the city, I'll hold the door for somebody just out of habit, and they look shocked, like, "Well, what are you doing?" Like,
guess what happens when I'm in Deep Creek?
Have a nice day.
Guess what I'm always looking for in Deep Creek?
What's that?
My cell phone. You know why I'm always looking for it? Because I'm relaxed. I'm enjoying life. And when I'm walking through a restaurant or I'm walking through a Walmart or I'm down by the docks, I have my phone on me. I'm available.
Yeah.
But let me tell you, it's awesome not seeing my kids do this. This is the best part. Just, hey, what's going on? Whatever. When I'm there, my kids leave their phones back and they're just living life. And I'm not going to get on my soapbox, but it's what's missing in the world a lot today is just that.
I don't disagree with that.
Interaction. You can't put a price tag on it.
Some of the happiest people that I have shown property to when they've got their kids, sometimes it's a necessity. Your kids you've been in the car for 3 hours. We're touring homes.
Yeah,
the kids are in the car. They're quiet. They're not screaming. They're watching their devices.
Yeah.
But some of the most exciting times are when you open the door and the kids take off running. Respectfully. They're excited. They're going to pick out their bedroom at the lake.
Yeah.
And, you don't see them on their devices. They're engaging. You can tell their parents raised them a certain way, that they're, yes, sir. Thank you, sir. They have manners and they're making eye contact. It's amazing. And being here in the mountains kind of brings that out in you where, there's plenty of times where I'll just set my phone down and, I've had a handful of missed calls, but that's why God made voicemail.
It's therapy. It's therapy.
It is.
It is.
It's almost heaven, right? No,
almost heaven, West Virginia. Hey, almost heaven. So I can't come in this weekend, but Mountaineers play Iowa State Hawkeye.
Wait, and it's a night game. Hawkeyes are ranked 11th.
Iowa State Cyclones. I said Hawkeyes. I messed that up.
That's Iowa. Yeah.
Iowa State Cyclones, Big 12, who's first place in the Big 12. They're 11th nationally, and the game is called the Coal Rush. Mountaineers have all blacked out uniforms.
I was hoping we would talk about that because it's the first time they wear the Coal Rush. It's a night game, right?
It's night. I mean, for those of you who don't know, night game in Morgantown.
Yeah.
Watch the Pat McAfee show that day because he's going to be. Let's go Mountaineers. Let's go drink some beers. That is a Scott Van Pelt Sports Center saying. He loves that every time. So,
that's funny. So we've got the Autumn Glory Festival coming up this week.
Okay.
So I'm kind of dating your podcast. I guess we both are dating it if this isn't released for a little while.
It's all good. It'll be released soon. So
So the Autumn Glory Festival at one point was ranked the #1 fall fest in the world. Guess what number 2 was?
I don't know.
Oktoberfest in Germany. I didn't make it up. I mean, I disagree. I'm sure Oktoberfest in Germany is.
Remember Beerfest, the movie? Unbex.
Yes. Was that the one that had the drinking teams and all that stuff?
Yeah.
But now Autumn Glory, there will be 50 or 60,000 people. The weather cooperates.
Oh, wow.
In Garrett County, walk in the streets of Oakland, the Grand Feature Parade. We have our new building, the parlor where my daughter's salon is, front row for the parade. So that's kind of the biggest perk I've been looking forward to.
Love it. Love it.
So, but you can't be in town.
I can't. And don't sleep. Yeah. Hockey for my son traveling. I've been in New Jersey and New York and Philly.
It's always hockey season for you.
Always hockey season, but don't sleep. For those of you listening to this, and we hope you've enjoyed it, and we hope you've learned something from this. And honestly, if you're thinking of buying investment property in Deep Creek, if you listen to this before you meet with your real estate agent and meet with Jay up there, you've just gotten an education. Okay. And what I'm going to tell you is don't sleep on the August fair, the fair,
county fair. Yeah.
County fair. I went there. I've been twice. One of the times I went was about 5 years ago, and they had a country group from the 80s called Little Big Town there. And they have your used to be A-list, now maybe they're C-list, but they get some good acts in there. And I tell you what, that county fair, you've got animals, funnel cake, Ferris wheels,
rides, a
$10 ticket. It's awesome.
Yeah, some of the best food vendors, like local, it's moms and dads that are coming to work. The Lions Club, booth to have chicken.
Dude, I had a cheesesteak there. It was unbelievable.
Hand spun, homemade, like Garrett County dairy milkshakes, rotary fries. We work the Southern Athletic booth. Best walking taco you'll have at the fair. So
those rotary fries were like the potato patch fries up in Kennywood, man. They're about the close. And for those of you who don't know that, again, you're missing out.
Yeah, watch the Pat McAfee show.
Dump some vinegar on that stuff. So
vinegar, ketchup and vinegar, a little bit of salt. It's got to be Heinz ketchup. There was something else I was going to something you haven't asked me this yet, but I have to say it.
Okay.
Half the battle in coming to Deep Creek and buying a property, and I mean this, it's going to sound like I'm sucking up, but I'm not. You have made my life so much easier in the, have we been partners? Like you've been in our office for 4 years, 5 years now?
Yeah, 4 or 5 years going on. Yeah, we're growing.
I don't use other lenders. I have some of my really good friends that are other lenders. I just cannot take my clients away from Rob and their group. And what they do, it's not just, hey, you need to get a mortgage. Yeah. It's not like that. It's so sophisticated where they will look at they'll sit down and listen. Number one, that's the thing that I love about you and Alec and Chris is you'll sit down and listen to every single person. They have an idea. There was a guy sent to you 2 or 3 weeks ago that he had just retired and the income, I don't think we're going to be able to do this. I just don't think we can afford it. And I said, well, what about a bridge loan? They just did one for me on our Laurelbrook property that we closed like this. Yep. And so just suggesting that people call you, I call you the financial wizard. Yeah. That, if you've got, and I always ask people, not everybody does, but do you have retirement? Do you have IRAs? Do you have, 401ks? Do you have stocks? Do you have other investments? Do you have equity? Whatever your financial picture is. Yep. Tell Rob. Yep. Give them the information. And it's like 4-dimensional chess where you guys are pulling money, creating programs.
Where I always say where there's a will, there's a way. And that's kind of that. Well, I did not ask Jay to give me that plug. I appreciate it.
I would be remiss if I didn't say it because I believe it. I try to, even if there's clients that I meet that they have a relationship with their hometown lender, their banker, whatever, like at least talk to them to compare rates. Programs, because not all programs are created the same. You've created special programs just for Deep Creek Lake.
We do all the time. And here's the other part. Even if they are pre-approved with someone else, I'll talk to them. Yeah. And if they have a friend or family deal or a special credit union deal or something, I'm giving them the best advice. Just like you tell some people I'm like, hey, you know what? Stick with what you got. That's great. Go with it. That's awesome.
Yeah, because some people don't have all the paperwork. They don't want to go through all that stuff. Yeah. And you're honest with them and say, I need all this paperwork before I can give you the real answer. Right. And it's just, the one other thing that I'll say, and I've told you this privately, I've told you this publicly, I'm saying it on your podcast right now. Yeah. When I have a client call, the lady from Oregon the other day is the most recent example. This was 3 days ago. They're wealthy. They have access to money. They have multiple properties. Yeah. They're smart with their finances. There's 100 different ways they could buy a house. Just call Rob. I don't worry about her. I know for a fact you're going to figure out what's best for her. I don't have to worry about, let's crunch some numbers here. I couldn't tell you the last time I had to do any kind of amortization or I know the math, but I don't like doing the math. I say, call Rob for money. He's going to figure out a way to get you the money. My job is to help you get a really good deal on the house. And we're going to find, again, what kind of Deep Creek Laker are you? Here's a house with a dock slip. Here's a house with a view. This one's a rental. This one's not. This one's peace and quiet. This one's right in the center of the action. It's an incredible team when we all work together. And,
we keep you posted with what you need to know, and we don't bother you with stuff you don't need to know, and we communicate, and it's part, teamwork makes the dream work. It's corny, but it is true. And that lady you referred me this weekend, I was in Philly. I was between hockey games. I had a great conversation with her. I told her where I was. She was more than appreciative that I talked to her on a Saturday night, emailed her on a Sunday morning. She's applied, and we're working through her numbers. So it's just, those things happen pretty quickly. And you
probably love working with somebody on the West Coast because you're grinding till 1 a.m. sometimes. And it's
we do what it takes, but these podcasts are part of my passion as well. Loved having you.
One other thing, you said this about me. I want to say this about you. We are both really good at what we do. We have a good team, incredible people around us. We have incredible culture with our companies. There's a lot of synergy when we put everybody together, and we have a really good time. We work hard and we play hard, but we aren't so hard up that I've never heard a bad review about the Ross Group, ever. We give good advice, and whether you buy or it doesn't matter. We don't need to put food on the table with this deal.
Correct.
We're going to give you good advice. You're going to remember my name. You're going to remember the Ross Group. You're going to remember Rob's name. And when the time is right, or when you're at a cocktail party and you're talking to somebody about Deep Creek, you're going to remember, hey, and I've made I don't do a lot of advertising at all anymore. It's all word of mouth. And past clients and testimonials. And I know that you do a lot of the same.
Same. My favorite thing is when I'm helping someone buy up in Deep Creek, and they'll call me, they'll call you first, but I'll have clients that I'll talk to. We've become friends is what I'm trying to say, right? I have people that have bought up there that I'm texting when I'm up there. Hey, are you around? Let's get coffee at Traders. Let's do whatever,
run into
right?
somebody at the grocery store. You run into somebody at dinner.
And then, but I'll get phone calls too. Hey, Rob, I was debating buying a boat, but I think you mentioned you're part of a boat club. Can you tell me about it? Half of my value and resources is I'm half local up there now, right? I always
you're like three quarters.
I'm from West Virginia. I grew up going there. I first went to WISP when I was 11, and I'm 46 next month, right? I've got a history there. I know the area. I can help. But here's the other part. If I don't know something, I refer you to Jay. I refer you to your local partner. And we should start a podcast, and it should just be called "I Got Someone for That," right? It's for
real. Because over 24 years, I think I've sold over 1,000 houses now.
Yeah.
And,
You've sold homes probably more than once. The same home.
There's some homes I think I've sold 4 times, 5 times, and whether I was the listing agent or the selling agent, or whether somebody chose another agent, whatever, that happens.
Yeah. That's awesome.
A good house is a good house. But
right.
I'll get texts from people that I haven't talked to since 2006. And they're like, Jay, remember me? And it's like, I don't remember faces very well.
Yeah.
But I remember 295 Timber Ridge Road. I remember, this, key facts, and nerdy number kind of stuff. I need a plumber. Boom. I need somewhere where I can go, and I need a notary that can come to me right now. I need this. I need this. I need this.
Landscaping, power washing, hardscaping, all of it.
Yeah.
Hot tub.
I need somebody that can repoint my chimney. Stonemason. Boom, boom, boom. That's the fun of being so involved in your community, meeting people, chatting people up, having good experiences, having bad experiences, and knowing not to recommend someone because it can go the other way too. But it's just part of the service after the sale.
Yeah. And I've told people when you refer clients to me, I do tell them, I'm like, hey, you're in great hands with Jay. You already know that because you're working with them. But same here. I'd be remiss not to tell these clients and I said, here's the cool part about Jay, because he grew up there. When he's telling you he knows a neighborhood, before he had a driver's license, he was probably running the streets of that neighborhood. He knows the neighborhood. He probably knows a shortcut through a backyard on how to get to the next house because that's what you do.
My
Growing up
old school bus route was the southern part of the lake. So it was where Pond Run is now.
Yeah.
I was driving by Pond Run when I was a 5-6-year-old kid.
Yeah.
And now Pond Run has been redeveloped. And that's one of the hottest places around the lake to go now.
Yeah,
Pond
exactly.
Run for craft drinks and, small plates and
absolutely.
live music.
Well, it's awesome. We're cranking through an hour and a half, so we'll wrap it up. But these I like these to go an hour and a half. I think it's good.
It's good info.
It's good info. People can listen to it in segments. It'll be up on Season for Success here soon. I'm going to give Jay the link. If you
we're gonna have to do another. We didn't even get into the commission stuff, so at some point we've got to.
Let's do another one on commission. Yeah, we'll do another one on commission.
Yeah, and how I think that is actually going to be something that is good for everybody. The way the commission stuff is working, and Maryland was kind of ahead of the game. There's been buyer agency in Maryland since 1999, so Maryland, it really hasn't changed that much.
Yeah,
but kind of like the a la carte service, you get what you pay for. If you want an agent that knows what they're doing, you're going to pay more money for that agent.
Yeah.
But there's also different levels of service where, hey, if you just want my advice, let's set up a call and we'll do consulting. You pay me right now. That's it. Your old hat at buying houses. You figured it out. So there's some really cool things that I'm hoping to pioneer with TaylorMade. Yep. Savvy investors. If you know what you're doing, maybe we, get your driver's license, verify identity, swipe a credit card. And now you can go and tour houses on your own on a Saturday, some really cool stuff that we've been kicking around. So
absolutely. Well, I do think we saved the commission side for another podcast, because I think that could be a good segue, a good segment, whole nother episode. Yep. So let's end with this. I'm going to give you a few fun facts, fun questions. You don't even know these yet. This isn't like, giving you these questions in advance here, some of these. All right. So I'm just going to hit you live so we get the real reaction. So, favorite place to vacation. Oh no. We lost Jay. Hold on. We're bringing it back.
We both froze.
Okay. We both froze.
We froze. Totally.
There we go. Okay. I got you back. So your favorite place to vacation ever. Or let me ask you this: your favorite vacation you've ever taken? Let me say it that way.
Probably best vacation we've ever taken. It was Perdido Key in Florida. It's like west of Pensacola. I took my aunt and uncle who live in Jacksonville. Okay. My mom, my brother, his daughter, Jessica, and I. The kids each got to take it. It was the coolest trip, having 14. We've gone on a bunch of vacations like that, but that had to be, to me, just the synergy of having everybody on that trip. We rented a house like out of cribs.
Nice.
The Gulf of Mexico is behind us, and we're on this river, this waterway. It was incredible. So yeah, I would say there is best vacation. Favorite place to go is St. John.
St. John's. Yeah, I knew that one. Okay, so vacation. All right. We talked about favorite football teams, the Steelers and the Redskins. What's your team again? Your fantasy team? The Steelskins. So my fantasy team is Geno 911.
Okay.
So Geno Smith, Mountaineers, and kind of a play on the TV show Reno 911. Yeah, so Geno 911 is my team. So let's say this. So that was your favorite place. So let's go with your favorite restaurant to eat in Deep Creek.
Favorite restaurant.
And it doesn't mean you hate the others for those listening. So just favorite restaurant to eat. If you literally have to eliminate every single restaurant except one, and that's your only choice.
JG's. And it would be the steak and cheese with all the hots, the works. That is the best sandwich. Best meal at Deep Creek.
So can I tell you, I've never had that.
You're going to. Actually, you're going to have half of it, and then the other half is for like tomorrow, but the sandwich is huge.
So I've tried to stop in several times, and they're closed when I'm trying to stop in. So I gotta hit it on the right day. Okay. All right. Favorite sporting event you've ever been to? Any sport, doesn't matter. Your best experience at a live sporting event.
That's a tough one.
That's why I didn't give you a heads up.
Okay, so I was in DC for I had gotten it was the NCAA tournament. It was in DC. Might have been 2008 six,
Was it,
seven,
was it
eight,
George
9.
Mason
With
University?
George Mason, yeah. I became a fan of George Mason. Everybody there turned on, was it UConn?
Yeah, it was UConn and North Carolina.
And George Mason was the local team. Yeah, that was probably the coolest experience because I think you got to over 2 days. Now it sucked because living in Deep Creek, I had to drive down. I didn't have the money back then to spend the night down in DC.
And you didn't know me, so you couldn't stay with me.
Well, that's right. We didn't know each other yet. I do think we probably skied and snowboarded past each other a bunch on Thursdays.
100%. And what you didn't know about me is that season and the season before, 2007 and 8, George Mason's basketball arena called Eagle One in Burke, Virginia, was 3 miles from my corporate headquarters at the time. I had season tickets. I had season tickets to George Mason basketball.
So did you go to the NCAA game, to the tournament?
I was out of town that weekend.
Wow. I just remember even leaving the arena, we turned on the radio because I mean back then it was like CDs and stuff like that. It wasn't really XM, that kind of stuff. We turned on whether it was DC 101 or just local radio, listening to how crazy everybody in DC, people beeping their horn and
106.7 The Fan. They're called the Sports Junkies.
Because they had Redskin games. They carried the Redskin games. They might still syndicate them. But that was the best sporting event ever.
They had Jai Lewis, Tony Skin.
I don't remember any of their names. I just remember watching them hit. They had a thick rebounder that.
His name was Jai Lewis, and then their coach was Jim Larinaga, who went to Miami afterwards.
I remember the last name of Larinaga. But that kid was just coming down with rebounds. He might have had 15, 16 rebounds. He was
unbelievable. That was a fun. So that's a really cool one.
The greatest athletes, of that time at UConn. It
was so awesome. All right, and sporting event, and last but not least, favorite concert you've ever been to.
Favorite. I'm a huge Jimmy Buffett fan. I probably have been to 25 different Jimmy Buffett shows.
We've not talked about this either.
We haven't. No. There was one show. I was 21 years old because I was old enough to have beers. I was working at maybe I wasn't 21, but I still had beers. I was working at GC Net, so it was like my first job in Garrett County was when the theater opened up. I was an usher when Garrett 8 Cinemas opened. That was my first job. Then after that, I was going to Garrett College. After WVU, I came back. I was going to Garrett College. Couldn't hang at WVU.
Sure.
You
could hang. That might have been the problem.
I went to class 3 times my freshman fall semester, and I had 2 Bs and 2 Cs. I went on the first day. I went for midterms and finals. 2 Bs, 2 Cs. That's not so bad. My parents disagreed. But I had somebody that I worked with at GCNet. It was a dial-up internet provider, so I was doing tech support. Somebody that I worked with, Kelly Marie Norris, and Dr. Terry Norris, who was the president of the college back then. This is just coming out of the memory bank. I haven't thought of this forever.
Yeah.
They got front row seats to the Buffett concert, and I came up with $800 somehow.
Did you go to Star Lake?
It was no. This one was at Nissan, I think, is Nissan, where they had it. Because I would always go see him at Star Lake. That was home field for me.
Down by me.
I saw 100 concerts in the lawn at Star Lake. I would get that lawn pass.
Oh yeah,
and go to like every show. But it was front row. Jimmy Buffett. I forget what song it was. He threw a guitar pick, and as he threw it, it spun like 6 at front row.
Yeah,
threw it straight ahead, but it sliced 6-7 people. I reached up my left hand, caught it, and he looked at me and kind of smiled. And I looked down, and it was I don't have the guitar pick anymore. I lost it, but it was a pearly kind. It said "Cheeseburger in Paradise" in gold font, gold script on a pearly white. It was my moment. I made eye contact with Buffett. He was surprised that I caught it. That was the best concert ever.
So again, something we haven't talked about. So my favorite concert ever was Buffett at Nissan Pavilion in Gainesville, Virginia.
What year?
It was past then. It was like, so I didn't have Robbie. Okay. So I'm going to tell you it was 2003 or 4 because he came back.
Okay, so like the Don't Stop, was he doing the Don't Stop the Carnival?
Yeah.
I was there at that show because I can tell you, I
Yeah.
went to Merriweather. I went to Nissan. Nissan and Merriweather are two different ones, right?
Two different. Merriweather's Maryland. Nissan is Gainesville,
And
Virginia. Yeah.
And then I know I saw it at Star Lake because I've still got the tie-dye shirt that still fits. Jimmy Buffett, don't stop the car.
Where I'm sitting right now, I'm 19 miles from Nissan. It's called Jiffy Lube Live now. I'm
Okay,
right here.
right. I saw Dave Matthews there before.
Okay, yeah, he's there.
I know I saw Dave Matthews at
that year. I saw Jimmy Buffett, which is just the greatest. And again, God rest his soul this year too. Like
I cried when he passed.
Dude, I did too. When I heard that news, I first thank God that I had a chance to go see him. I felt bad for everyone that didn't have a chance to see the spectacle, which is, fins to the left, fins to the right, and just be there. And then it's just such a party. But one of my favorite moments was with my Uncle John Ross, my dad's youngest brother, who lives up in Rhode Island, up near Providence, Rhode Island. I won't get into the exact New Kingston right area. So, but that year I went to Jiffy Lube or Nissan. 2 weeks later was Jimmy Buffett's last concert of the year. And for whatever the stretch was, maybe it was like a 10-year stretch, his last concert of the year was always in Boston. And we drove up 2 weeks later. I sat in 13 hours of traffic, drove to my Uncle John's, my Aunt Ann, thanks Aunt Ann. And they had the most amazing tailgate. My uncle put up like basically a makeshift bar, had a blender, and we did all this stuff. And it was just, the party in the parking lot is half the experience, maybe 75% of the experience.
Yeah. I had my very own grass skirt. I had a coconut bra.
Yes.
And like everybody had like the Hawaiian shirt. And that was
it was awesome. I did 2 Buffett concerts that year. And
well, I got to tell you, the last show that he did in Pittsburgh, Eric and Tira Crawford went with Jessica and I.
No way.
And well, Tira went to go get drinks.
Okay.
She didn't come back for 2 hours. That's how long the line. We thought she was gone.
Wait, Buffett Tira? No, not Tira.
She said that she partied in the line with it. They were all singing Pencil Thin Mustache and all that stuff. I'm like, can't really, you're enjoying the show, but at the same time, it's like, where is Tira? How are we going to find Tira?
Yeah. And
guess what's not she watches this.
Those cell phone signals aren't working there.
No, not at all. Especially when you're from Garrett County and you're not on your home towers or whatever. Yeah. You know what I mean?
You're not on.
But she came back and she had beers and we got to listen to the rest of it. I have to tell you this though, because I know how you are with Robbie and your travels. The most fun I've had recently at a concert. Yeah. I took Noah for his birthday 2 years ago to Metallica in Pittsburgh. At PNC, and it was such a good. I took him and my younger brother Jesse. Yeah. And then last year, when Metallica announced that they were doing their world tour and they were doing the 2-night no repeat weekend, the closest place was New Jersey. So we bought tickets. I've never been to New York, never been to New Jersey. We're riding into the Jersey Turnpike at 7:30 at night. We're supposed to. Our VRBO fell through.
Oh no!
So we went and had the best time at that concert, and then. And Noah can play guitar, so he's learned Metallica and playing it.
Awesome.
Well, there's a festival in Ohio that it's May 8th, I think. Sonic Temple. Metallica is going to be there for 2 nights. We got like
I've heard of
royalty. You need to go.
Yeah.
We got rock royalty, like higher than VIP level seats. Noah's so excited. There's like 100 bands there, so. Opening act for them on Friday. They play Friday night. The opening act, Rob Zombie. I've never seen Rob Zombie.
No, that's
and then
cool.
Saturday or Sunday night, they play Sunday. The opening act, Alice in Chains. Never got to see them.
Whoa.
So, and then there's 100 other bands. Like Alice Cooper's playing, and they keep naming more and more bands. But that's been the most fun is road tripping with my son. So it's a little taste of what you're doing with hockey time.
The car time is invaluable, and
for sure.
And even though with hockey, some of it he's sleeping because it's we got to get there. But just driving. Guess what I do when I'm driving when he's sleeping?
Listen to your podcast.
I listen to a podcast. I don't know that I've listened to mine. So, but this will be one for the ages. And
cool. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate you taking. I know you and I.
We've been talking for 2 hours and 15 minutes now,
dude. I know, and I I've been wanting to do this forever, and I'm back on the kick, and I just have to make time to it because this is not work to me. Just, this is fun. Like, this is awesome.
I'm enjoying. Yeah, this was so much fun. This was the only night that worked. So when you reached out, it's like, oh my God, this is the stars lined up. Tomorrow is the Autumn Glory kickoff dinner.
There it is.
Thursday night is the Fireman's Parade at Oktoberfest. They shut down downtown Oakland, and everybody drinks beer in the street. They have an old school style German Opa band. Just awesome. Volunteer. It's incredible. Yeah. Friday is a day where all the kids are off school. It's like a national holiday in Garrett County. Yeah. Saturday is the big parade. And then Sunday is the day where everybody's out shopping, crafting, buckwheat cakes, just loving life, man. This is the week to be in Garrett County.
This is the week. I'm going to equate that to the Labor Day weekend in Clarksburg, West Virginia. The annual Italian Heritage Festival there.
I would love to go to that.
Dude, it's called the Tally Rally, and I grew up going to that because my entire family from Clarksburg, Bridgeport area, Harrison County, everybody's Italian, right? And the Tally Rally was right then, and they have everything you could think of. The food is it's sausage and peppers and meatball hoagies and next level food that you just can't get anywhere else. But don't sleep on. So it's the second. So you mentioned the second largest next to Oktoberfest. So a lot of people that festival, right? So a lot of people don't realize in Clarksburg, West Virginia, the annual Italian Heritage Festival is the second largest Italian Heritage Festival in the United States each year. Wow. So when I'm going to say 1984, 1985, somewhere in that range, I'm like 7-8 years old, and I'm there, and I have a photo. I was like on my dad's shoulders at the time, and you're looking at the stage. They have like a king and queen and all the stuff going on, and we had Mary Lou Retton there, who just won a gold medal. Yeah. And she's from Fairmont, West Virginia.
In the 84 Olympics.
Yep. So she was there, and Lou Ferrigno, who is the Incredible Hulk, was there. Yes. So he was not painted green, but Lou Ferrigno was there, and he was an intimidating human being. So we're gonna have to switch festivals at some point. So
for sure, you come to mine, I'll come to yours, and we'll see where we end up. So
it works. Well, I
appreciate you, friend.
Yeah, I appreciate you too. I'll catch up with you soon. Thanks, man.
All right, man. God bless you. Thanks, Rob.
Same, bud.
See ya.
You've been listening to Seasoned for Success. Thanks for listening.
Bye-bye.
We hope you've gotten some useful and practical information from the show, and we'll be back soon. In the meantime, make sure to like, rate, and review. And don't forget to spread the word and follow us on social media. On Facebook at Seasoned for Success and on Twitter at Seasoned Success.
Have a good one. Bye.
Till next time.